As a relatively new anime fan, there are a lot of classics I haven't seen yet. Recently, I made it a mission to explore some of the most highly regarded series, and one title that kept coming up was Baccano. And now that I've seen it, I can confidently say it's become one of my all-time favorites. Its characters may not be the most complex out there, and its story might not have the richest themes, but there's just something about this show that captures the minds and hearts of all of its viewers, myself included. Going into the show, I honestly didn't really know what to expect. I heard it was good, but my friends didn't really want to give me too much information on it, as they said this was the type of show that should be experienced having no prior information going into it. And boy am I glad I listened to them, piecing together the story through the bits and pieces we got, especially in the beginning, was one of the most fun and engaging anime watching experience I've had in recent memory. And that brings me to the part of the show which sets it apart from most of its contemporaries, the way the story is structured. Baccano's main storytelling device is its non-linear story. That part becomes even more impressive when you consider the fact that that part is, by and large, an invention of the anime. You see, the light novel, while having some flashbacks, is mostly telling a linear story. So the fact that the non-linear storytelling in the anime works so well is a testament to the understanding the studio has for the source material. The anime has 3 different main plot lines, happening in 3 different years. The train arc in 1931, the 1,000-year drink in 1930, and Finding Dallas, the end of 1931, beginning of 1932. But as I've said before, these aren't shown in linear order. Instead, scenes from each arc are interspersed with each other, with scenes from later arcs giving context to earlier scenes and vice versa. For those of you who haven't seen the show, the first 1 or 2 episodes will confuse you to some degree, and that's its intention. While jumps between timelines within episodes still happen later on, these jumps are much more frequent in the first few episodes. That, combined with the fact that you still aren't really familiar with the characters or what the story is really about, makes for an experience that can be quite disorienting. But while that may be a detractor for a few fans, if you stick with the show, it will all become worth it. Baccano doesn't try to hold your hand and spoon feed you all the information you need to figure out the story. It trusts you to figure out the connections between characters and events by yourself, which also makes the show one of the most rewatchable shows of all time. Because watching the show while already knowing the plot beats and storylines gives you a completely different experience than what you got on your first watch. You will be able to notice details and clues that might have completely gone past you in your first or even second watch through of the show. Similarly, some scenes are repeated from the perspective of different characters, which also helps to reveal more of the secrets and mysteries of the show. But not only the plot benefits from this story structure, it also helps in portraying some of the themes Baccano is trying to get across. With many key characters being immortal, it stands to reason, and is even stated by some of them, that the passage of time means very little to them. This is represented by the story's disregard for temporal continuity, often just jumping around between different points in time. The fragmented storyline also reflects the chaotic and all over the place nature of the story, while also showing that each of these parts are deeply interwoven with each other, with every part playing an important part in a narrative. However, there's another important aspect of the story that I think often gets overlooked, and that is the framing device used to introduce us to the story. The Daily Days employees Gustav and Carol. The show starts with a scene of these two talking about the events that happened, those events that we are about to witness in this show. This is a bit of a meta way to introduce us to the story, but also has a very philosophical message hidden in it. Harris' question posed at the start are questions that many of us viewers might have as well. Who is the main character? Where does the story really begin? This should already clue the viewer in on the fact Baccano isn't your simple, traditional story. The story isn't structured into your usual beginning, middle, and end, and it also doesn't really have a protagonist. This narrative framing device also serves as a perfect way to describe why the story is told in the way that it's told. We are not watching a story unfold, we are watching someone trying to piece the story together, just like we are. Its cast is another one of Baccano's biggest selling points. Its main cast having more members than there are episodes in the show, one might expect it to feel a bit bloated, with some of the characters feeling a bit shoehorned or left out. But that isn't the case at all. While most of the characters are connected to crime or the mafia in some way, shape or form, each of them bring a fresh and unique perspective to the show. Featuring some of the most batshit insane characters I've ever seen in anime, this is a compliment by the way, they all feel quite refreshing when compared to many other anime. Even picking just one favorite is much too tough a task to ask. Hiro is the closest thing Baccano has to a shonen protagonist, but although he's young and can be quite easygoing at times, he's still very dangerous to everyone he deems a threat. Jacuzzi, at first glance, does not fit the profile of your typical gang leader. Kai easily breaks into tears and often acts like a coward, but when it's all on the line, he's one of the most brave and courageous characters out there, risking his all for his friends and companions. Lad is a full-blown psychopath, sadistic, trigger-happy, with no regard for human life. He doesn't kill because he has to, he kills because he wants. But that's what makes the character so exciting. He does the most heinous acts, but does them with such gusto and charm, you can't help but like him. In my opinion, he's the one that represents the chaos of the show the best. Ennis might still be my favorite of the bunch though. A homunculus created by the main villain of these arcs, she's originally 100% loyal and completely emotionless. But throughout her time with Firo and the rest of the crew, she slowly gains independence, emotion, and her own sense of identity. The character arc she goes through in the show is without a doubt my favorite. But while these are some of my favorites, they aren't the most important characters for the show. That title should, without a shadow of a doubt, go to Isaac and Miria. Firstly, these are the only characters that majorly feature in each of the 3 timelines, and not only that, they're catalysts for some of the most important plotlines in the whole show. But not only are they the narrative glue that holds the show together, they're also the main source of some well-needed humor in the show. Writing them off as just comic relief would be easy, and I think in fact a lot of people do just that. But in my opinion, that is quite reductive. While they do provide comedy, they aren't there just to provide laughs and nothing else. For one, unlike most other comedy relief characters, their comedy doesn't distract from or diminish the seriousness of the situations they're facing. Their tone contrasts the show's violence and dark themes perfectly, showing the viewers that there's absurdity in the chaos and joy in the darkness. These two are also the emotional and moral support that many of these other characters need. Most characters are dealing with issues such as violence, revenge, or existential dread, whereas Miria and Isaac are pure-hearted and enthusiastic about their life. They treat everyone, even those that others treat with fear or scorn, with kindness, and those acts of acceptance help those shunned characters develop emotionally. Chesla, an immortal child that suffered and as such doesn't want to trust anyone or anything, finally feels loved and safe again. Ennis, a created being that has only experienced someone using her for his own gains, sees a model of a free and unjudging human. In short, I think these two are the soul of what Baccano is trying to be. They are no heroes by any means, but they are the heart of the story, both narratively and emotionally. Circling back to the conversations between Gustav and Carol, one poignant thing that stuck in my mind was the following. Maybe the story doesn't need a main character. And he was absolutely right. Baccano plays with storytelling norms in a fantastic way, ignoring any and all conventions that most stories should and do follow. And yet, the show is still fantastic. In fact, I think this is part of what makes it so fantastic. On the surface, Baccano is a very chaotic show, but beneath that is a highly controlled narrative where seemingly random actions have real, observable, and understandable consequences. The show also blends several different genres, be it crime, noir, supernatural fantasy, slapstick comedy, or psychological horror together without any of it feeling weird or out of place. And although the show was made almost 20 years ago, its style and animation still holds up to this day. And as I've mentioned before, it is one of the most rewatchable shows out there, offering new discoveries and details with each subsequent visit. Baccano is a show that I would recommend to any of my friends, regardless of the types of shows they usually like. It is a very unique type of story, and one that I think I've never seen anywhere before or since. It's chaotic, creative, genre-bending, and still unlike anything I've ever seen. Whether you're into anime or just great storytelling, I can't recommend Baccano enough. Unfortunately, the second season was never made, but I'm highly considering just reading the light novels. That's how much I enjoyed this show. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please consider liking this video, leaving a comment, and subscribing. Thanks for watching.